Hey, what's happening, gang? So here we are for the episode 140 wrap-up of Monuments and Ruin. I'm your host, Bobby. You are listening to TrinkHillRadio.com. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me for the past hour. So we started off in the free bin this week, and if you heard the live feed, then you know we started off with this Bye Bye Blackbird 45. This thing is kind of funny because, as I mentioned on the show, instrumental with human vocals. And then, of course, what I did talk about on the show was instrumental with bird vocals. So this one's going back into the free bin. If you're ordering anything from Trink Hill Radio, or if you're ordering from Inherent Records, there's a good chance that you might wind up with this in your box. So there we go. Follow that up really with the first kicker. Hey, Scott, see you there. Matt, see you there. So, kicked off with Nancy Sinatra. This was actually the real first track. Of course, the first one was funny and I had to play it. This 45 was really killer. I'm actually going to look for this record. It says Lee Hazelwood. I'm not sure if this is the songwriter or if that's something to do with the soundtrack. It says from the Paramount motion picture, The Last of the Secret Agents. That's something I didn't talk about on the show. So if you've got that record or if you're familiar with it, let me know if it's as good as this track, and if it is, I'm definitely getting this. Another one from the free bin, so 2 for 2. Okay, at this point, no strangers to the show. The Ventures. This album, Golden Greats. Of course, this is you might as well just say 3 pictures of the same girl, because that's exactly what it is. But as you know, this band is killer. There's a lot of great titles on here, not to mention the one that, of course, we played on the show. So if you got into that, I've said it before, the Ventures cannot be messed with. This group is killer. All their records are really good. Okay, up next, classic Jane's Addiction, Nothing Shocking. This artwork, I like the back cover as well, the back photo. Something about this that I can just kind of stare at for a long time. I noticed last night for the first time that the vocalist, is it Pharrell or Farrell? Perry Farrell? Anyway, he's got these little arrows kind of right here. So next time you're checking out your record, see if you've ever noticed that. Of course, I think that he did this cover art as well. What I do not know is, was this some type of sculpture or was this some type of painting? I should have researched that a little bit more because, man, I really dig this. I remember all of my older brother's friends were really into this record, and there used to be this local place in Cleveland where I'm from called the Fire Escape. And I remember hanging around, listening to a lot of, it was one of those places that had a lot of metal stuff happening for younger kids. Cool place to be, especially for someone like me. It turned me on to death metal. I was never into death metal before I went to that place. I learned about bands like Vengeance Rising and Deliverance and Tourniquet. Anyway, all of those bands I'm still a huge fan of. But my friend Dave Fedrowski pulls up in his car. At this point, I'm maybe 13, 12, somewhere around there. Still a young kid, not old enough to drive, but he was, and he pulls up in the car listening to this record. And I immediately went out there and talked to him and listened to this record with him, because you hear the mountain song blaring out of somebody's car, you go over and you talk to them. That's just the way it is. Jane's Addiction, Nothing Shocking. Hard to believe this sucker was released so long ago, as I mentioned on the show. Did anybody guess what the track was? Nothing Shocking? It's actually called Ted, Just Admit It. I'm not sure if we talked about that in the live feed or not. Followed that up, Miles Davis. This record is just one of those that I had never seen. The day I bought it, I was at a record convention. It says right here I paid $10 for it. Star People. This the album art on this is really cool. one of those, I don't know if you'd call that minimalist or abstract or what. Definitely something to look out for. This one is burning it up. As you can tell, there's not that many tracks on it, so they're all fairly lengthy, similar to the one that was played on the show. And of course, everyone knows at this point that I'm a Miles Davis fanatic. You know, when I say fanatic, I don't know everything about the man, but I do know what I know I really like. So there you go, Miles Davis, Star People. Okay, next up, oh wait, before we get into this, hold on a second. So I'm always talking about mail order and these freebies and different things. Before we get into the second half of what we listen to on the show, I just want to show you guys something. This is a picture of Tony Iommi that a friend printed for me. He took this photo. It's so funny because obviously in the negative, I'm not sure if the camera's flipped it around or not, but this shows him playing right-handed, which is obviously wrong for Tony Iommi. So whoever printed this printed the negative, but they printed it in color. So every time I pack records in this room for you, Tony's right there with me on the shelf. He's been sitting there. He has literally touched every package that I have ever shipped out of my facility, which means he's on the table. The box gets taped up right over him. I don't know why I've never taken the time to hang this up, but yeah, Tony Iommi, the power of Tony gets the packages to you. So you're probably thinking, why is he talking about flipping picture? Because we went into Sabotage next. Black Sabbath Sabotage. This is not the best album cover when it comes to topics, but the music on here, it is one of my favorite Sabbath albums. Of course, we could talk about that all day or all week, and tomorrow I'll probably be saying that a different Sabbath album is my favorite. But once again, who am I to talk about cover art? Because it's really their vision, what they felt needed to happen. And overall, it could be just a solid blank album cover because this record is killer. We almost went in, well, I'm not going to tell you what we almost went into, but I am going to say that the track that we played on here is also a great version by Sepultura on the Nativity in Black album. So if you've never heard that, research that, because those guys, man, what a great cover song. And I wish that my friend Steve Chitwood was around to sing that for you. The first time I heard that cover, I was in my car playing the tape for him. We were just rocking out, and it gets to this acoustic part towards the end of the tune, and he's in the backseat of my car, a great vocalist, and just belts out the lyrics. Fortunately for me, it was one of those moments to where the Sepultura version, towards the end of that song, they do it instrumentally, and then I got this guy singing in the backseat of my car. Man, nailed it. Gives me cold chills thinking about it. I really miss that guy. So Steve, wherever you're at, man, I know you're still with me, and I'm thinking about you every time I hear that song. So yeah. Not trying to get all heavy emotional or anything, but yeah, for sure, every time I hear that, think about that dude. Longtime friend. I miss him quite a bit. Up next, Ministry, Psalm 69. This album is just, what can you say about Ministry that people probably do not already know? It's brutal. It's good. I like this one note on here. It says, these perverts claim they are not industrial, which is true. Only the sense that Led Zeppelin wasn't metal. There's more to the review there. I'll give you a screenshot that way if you ever want to go back and watch this and read it. Absolutely hilarious. I love that little clip. But yeah, this artwork or this album layout, I really dig this. It's kind of dark. Has, I don't know, something about this just lets you know this record is going to be brutal and good. So prepare your ears. Ministry, Psalm 69. And Rhino does these fantastic reissues. They just are doing a great job with a lot of their releases. So if you've not picked this up and you're thinking twice about it, if you're asking me, it's a win for sure. Okay, up next, Mucky Pup. We were talking about Corrections House during the show. This is the record we were looking for. Man, this sucker is awesome. I love the way they've done this album layout. This was released on Narot Recordings, of course, one of my favorite labels. But I love this, I don't know what you call this. It's like gold leaf, but it's red, or I should say dark maroon. It's got this really nice glare to it. And of course this black and white with that. And then a nice heavy duty gatefold with this dark kind of imagery. I'm doing the video by the window here, so I can't really expand on that. Maybe I should just step back. There we go. How's that? I'm not wearing my glasses, so I can't see you. Okay, anyway, this is it. Corrections House. Once again, as I said on the show, man, I never can remember this album title. Know How to Carry a Whip. For some reason, Know How to Carry a Whip just does not resonate with me. I have to look at the album title every time, or whatever. Anyway, great record. First time I bought it and listened to it, it did not really stick. But the more I have listened to this record, the more I revisit it, it is extremely good. So great job. As usual, you know, some of these records that you have to grow into, they're the ones that become lifelong favorites. So, and this one has been since 2013. Every year I've listened to it, I've liked it more and more and more. So, Corrections House. Know How to Carry a Whip. Okay, so I didn't mention this in the show, but we've already talked about it. The reason why I pulled out the Sepultura Arise, outside of the fact that it is my favorite thrash album of all times, I know, Mucky, you and I are going to have to talk about this, was because I wanted to connect it with the Sabbath tune that we played, and I did not discuss that. For some reason this week I just did not feel like talking very much on the show, which I apparently am making up for on this video. So, anyway, Sepultura Arise. I had this cassette. Man, just this thing, I played it over and over and over when I was a kid. Still love it just as much today as ever. There's also a really great VHS called Under Siege. If you ever get a chance to find that VHS, I'm not sure if it was ever released on DVD or not, but if it was, you should definitely check that out. There's a really cool part on that VHS. I'm not sure what song it's on. I'm trying to remember, but it's just been so long since I've got to watch the actual clip. They're playing, and there's a guy in the balcony that dives off of the balcony into the crowd, which is just insane. It's just a clip real quick like that, man, but if you watch that video, watch for that, because when you see it, it is absolutely insane. Anyway, Sepultura, Alive. Arise, definitely one of the all-time great thrash records. So, yeah, say what you want. This is my pick. Should have been not only in the top 4, but should have been the number 1. Okay, up next, A Storm of Light. Nations to Flames. I want to talk a little bit about this for a second, a little bit more in depth than what I got to do in the show. First of all, I mentioned how much I like this artwork. And I wanted to mention that this was actually recorded by one of my friends at his studio, Travis, at Fahrenheit Studios. The drummer on this, Billy, man, such great people. Those guys, you may also know them from Generation of Vipers, which is a band that I was fortunate to release one of their records on Inherent Records. So, The Storm of Light. This also has Josh Graham, who was formerly the visual person for Neurosis. I can't remember when exactly he joined the band. I think it might have been early 2000s, somewhere around in there. Maybe it was late 90s. But yeah, all of that cool visual stuff when they went to that round screen and the digital projection. Josh Graham was responsible for those visuals. So, yeah, Suspended in Light, I believe, is his animation or his visual project. I think it's suspendedinlight.com. I hope I'm not wrong about that, but definitely cool stuff. He's also done work for Soundgarden. I'm not going to name them all. Neurosis, Soundgarden. Yeah, cool stuff. So, man, did I think I did, but just in case I didn't, let's look at the inside of this again. Really cool stuff. So yeah, wonderful art. He also has a project that you've heard on the podcast before. He even told me how to pronounce it, and I cannot remember, but it's ICYMI. So however you want to pronounce that. But anyway, A Storm of Light, Nations to Flames. This record's killer. Super heavy duty too. And then, closing out, Pinkish Black, some of the nicest guys I know. These guys just, the first time I met them, they came to play at the record store. It was just one of those, a friend of a friend contacted me and said, hey, I've got some friends that are looking for a show. Can you help them out? Already had some acquaintances of theirs playing at the store. It's like, yeah, bring them on. These guys walked into the record store on their first tour and just blew me away. Two guys. This is just great stuff, man. So I really like those guys quite a bit. We've got to stay in touch whenever we can. So Pinkish Black, the track, oh, I'm not going to tell you about the track. You got to listen to it. Bottom of the Morning is the name of this album. So when you listen to the podcast, this is what we closed out with. Great record. Great guys. So that's the kind of band or album that you buy one or two copies of. Not only do you want one copy, but after you buy one, you buy a second copy because you want to make sure that if something happens, you have a reserve copy. So that way, if it ever goes out of print, you've got something clean to listen to, because I really dig that band. Great dudes, great music, very original. So thank you so much for hanging out with me here at the wrap-up Monuments in Ruin for episode 140. I will talk to everyone next week once again. Tune in to trinkillradio.com. If you missed the live broadcast, you can go over to the archive, trinkillradio.com, click on the podcast tab, and check out all of the Monuments in Ruin episodes logged in there. Check out all of the other hosts. There's a ton of great stuff happening. Lots of cool stuff to talk about and lots of cool stuff to listen to. And if you're over there, if you can spare it, please hit the donate button. Help us keep the lights on. And if you can't hit the donate button, you can ride for free as long as you tell a friend about us. Your support is greatly appreciated. I will talk to everyone next week. Take care. Later.